I'm with Barclay Blair, the head of Piper AI, which is DLA Piper for those of you that are keeping score at home. Barclay, how are you, man?
Doing great. How are you, David?
It's so good to see you again. It's been a little while. You look great.
Oh, yeah, you too.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So here we are. It's Legal Week 2026. The buzz and the energy on this floor is not what it was last year or the year before. You're a veteran of the wars. What do you think?
I've been coming here 20 years, and yeah, it's great to see the energy and activity here. I mean, legal tech is, goes through these phases, and right now it's in a very disruptive phase, and I don't think anybody knows where it's heading. So that's a good environment for a conference.
Well, you know where it's heading, though, because you and I have known each other for a while, and you've been ahead of a lot of the trends, information governance, e-discovery, et cetera, et cetera. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing as the head of Piper AI at DLA. I think that gives us a little bit of an indication of the direction
Yeah.
that the marketplace is going, especially coming from, an AmLaw 25, if you will. So here's what big law firms are doing, and I think it's interesting in the sense that there's a rate of change that's not 2x, it's more like 5x, 10x, and it's not a gap, it's a canyon. It's being created. So I think there's some Fortune 500 that are creating the canyon. I think there's law firms creating a canyon, and so I think there is a gap here. Tell us how you see it.
I'm at DLA Piper because fundamentally we believe that we need to get into the business of making money from the thing that's going to replace us. So Piper AI's mandate is to look for opportunities to develop proprietary AI capabilities for the benefit of our attorneys, the benefit of our clients, where we can really find that magic combination of the expertise we have, the market position we have, the data we have, and the client demand that we have to do things that are just really hard to do outside a law firm. So, this began with a seed of an idea 2.5 years ago, kind of as part of an AI practice. And then as this market developed, this was the bet that we decided to take, that we really need to build our own capabilities alongside our commercial strategy. So
You're talking business model right now, which is which is what this is really all about. What's the business model? This is the innovator's dilemma. This is Clayton Christensen. This is Malcolm Gladwell. Start us with something a little bit more granular. Take me back 18 months. What can you and your team do now that you couldn't do 18 months ago? And 18 months ago, like that seemed quaint.
Yeah. What we could do today is we can validate. Well, let's put it this way. I'll tell you the story. We can take a litigation complaint. In fact, we can take 10 of them, and every minute we can produce 50 facts from each of those complaints in a structured database at 99% accuracy. So in other words, complaint comes in, we want to know 50 things about what's happening in that litigation. We can pump those directly into a database at accuracy levels that surpass human accuracy levels. So what we're really focused on as a big firm is where can we apply AI capabilities at scale? We have practices of hundreds of attorneys that do the same or similar things. The AI assistants are useful to a degree, but when we want to go big, how do we do that? And that comes down to using AI fundamentally to validate and check the outputs of AI. And that's kind of a new idea for many people.
Take me to the talent side of that, because you know what, we will of course cover people, process, and technology. That's a little process. That's a little tech. Talk to me about the talent. How big was your talent pool? How big was your team 2 years ago, 12 months ago, and today?
Started with 2 people, me and the data scientist who I'd worked with before, and now it's 30. So we have staffed up very much like a software company, which is very unusual for a law firm. And what I mean by that is we have taken a product-centric approach. So in other words, we have taken an approach that says to the firm, look, our job is not to go chase every little opportunity or idea that comes along. Our job is to aggregate that demand and say, hey, what's one thing that we could build that could serve this lawyer, this lawyer, this lawyer, this lawyer? So we have hired product managers from software. Then we have hired software engineers. We've hired data scientists, and we've hired, very, very, in a way that's very similar to a software company, because I really wanted to inject that product focus, that product discipline And that's been tricky. It's been very hard because it's a very different way of looking at the world versus a services firm.
What I like so much when you guys were having a cup of coffee the other day is you said to me, if I get this right, I think I'll get this right, help me out. You said, we are looking at it as a product company, as a services company together, in that we're willing to take a massive loss in year one, a loss in year two, break even in year three, and then in an effort to make money in year 4, 5, 6, and going forward. Like, that's not a law firm business
That's right.
model.
That's right. Yeah. And I would say that the number one killer of innovation efforts in law firms is that it has to be done off the side of the desk and it has to pay for itself in year one. And so I think only because of this disruption that's happening because of AI were we able to build support for a different notion, which is more like um, on balance sheet investing. In other words, it's
Yes.
much more like the firm is treating this as a capital investment, not an OPEX. Capital investment that we need to show trajectory towards profitability over 3 to 4 years. And that's what we're doing.
So, without naming names, as you look, if this were a race and you're in a race car, there's nobody in front of you. Let's say, right? We'll give you the pole position here. How many racers are there to the right, and how many just behind you? Like, what's the size of this race? Is it 3 firms, 5 firms, 10 firms? You can't not mention, Wendy Curtis at Oric. You can't not mention a number of other people. Like, how big is the race right now?
So, what I would encourage people to do, and especially clients when they're looking at this, is really try to understand what's under the covers at other law firms. It's really hard to do. So you have, for example, the very typical model, which I think is 99% of what's out there, is that you give this to a knowledge management function to operate sort of similar to an IT function at a loss. They're there to kind of service the attorneys. But they don't hire technology people. And so they're not actually doing development. The second is you give it to a lawyer who has a data science degree and says, hey, this is now our AI sort of innovation practice, but they don't have budget. They don't get capital to actually go and frankly, do things that are risky. Like that's the bottom line here is that we're talking about new technology, a new technology stack, a new business model, unproven technology, and you have to be able to take risks. And there are firms that have spun out innovation arms and have some capital investment in those that I would say are fast followers on what we're doing. But I'm not aware of anyone who is made this bet. I think more will. I think more have to. I think it's one response to this disruption that is profound in legal services that I think others will make, especially large global firms that just have capital and have scale and can, frankly, take a risk with partners' money. That's the thing. That's the other reason this is hard to do. Is like, Tim Cook doesn't make less next year because they spent $1 billion on a headquarters. Partners at our firm make less next year because they spent the money on Piper AI. They took capital out of partners' pockets and said, let's go do this together. And that's a hard thing to do.
What are the what are your clients asking you for? Let's take the top 10% that are AI forward, AI centric. What are they? And they're savvy, right? So they're not asking you sort of the I don't want to call it clumsy, but the vanilla question of we know you're using AI, because I hear this all the time.
Yeah.
We know you're using AI. We want you to cut your fees by 10% next year. Have at it. Good luck. So okay, that's a little elementary and a little novice. That's not exactly it. But the savvy firms that you work with, how do they frame this dialogue, this partnership with you
Yeah.
back and forth?
Yeah. Great
What does
question.
that sound like?
I would put it into two categories. So let's not category one would be our clients who are very tech savvy. So we're having one conversation with them that kind of goes like, hey, DLA, we are going on this journey with AI inside our legal function. We are going to be using AI to radically rethink the way that we run legal services inside this organization. Please come on this journey with us. We want to have like close dialogue with you about what you're thinking, what we're thinking, how we can meet in the middle. What are novel opportunities for us to do things that we couldn't have done before? So there's that group that is, yeah, they're focused on cost and value, but they're looking for a partnership really with us. So this like let's let's say like a technology savvy large organization, we're a panel firm. That's the conversation. I sat in a room with 10 other firms, 200 people in a big room 6 months ago with a company like that. And that was the message. I would say then there's another category, which is clients with whom we have long-standing trusted advisor relationships. And they're mostly curious about how we can use AI just to increase value for them. They're not really worried about cost so much. They're worried about driving better outcomes, litigation, like better service. Like how can we just work together to make this whole thing, especially on litigation, less painful? And a great advantage, and one of the reasons I came to DLA is that DLA does so much of its work, over 60% under AFAs, including litigation. So we're able to have that conversation. We're already having that conversation about value. AI is just an addition to that conversation.
Barclay, that's exactly where I wanted to finish us off here. And I think we've got enough time to kind of explore this a little bit. I'm out last week, Solid West, Silicon Valley, at Microsoft, 200 people in the room. And we're talking about insourcing and outsourcing, building and buying. And there are a number of corporate counsel that are saying, well, we're insourcing the following because we now have capability and capacity. And one of the in-house counsel said, we're going to hit a tipping point here somewhere where we've insourced so much, we won't be able to hire net new that are skilled up. We're going to have to start outsourcing it. So it's a little bit of a waterfall effect that's happening. It's great right now. And I can see that, right? Where like the following 5 or 7 or 10 items, issues, complicated are coming in-house. And it's great. But at some point, you're going to hit a max again of capability and capacity.
Yeah.
And not that outside counsel isn't coming with them on the journey, but they need you to do the thinking with them more than the doing than ever before. How do you see that, those three pieces coming together? What's your vision of that?
I mean, I think the one factor that cuts through all of that is, and you know from our conversations, I'm really big on like, let's go to first principles here. And one of the first principles is, why is a client coming to a law firm? Yes, it's to get the service, but it's to buy certainty. And I think if I think about, if you're a lawyer in-house, you have this litigation portfolio, what you're buying, one of the things you're buying when you go outside is you're buying certainty that you're making the right choices, that you're on the right path. And quite frankly, that creates great comfort for in-house counsel. And that's not going to go away. I don't think, in fact, I think the value of that's just going to increase. So it's that partner who has a perspective because they're on the battlefield every day that you just can't get in-house, guiding you on that strategy. I think that's going to increase in value, and it's not going to go away. What's going to change is just the work that's happening underneath that, who's doing it, how we're getting paid for it.
That's great.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. Do you want to give a shout out for the staff and talent that you're looking for right now? Are you looking to add to your team? And if so, this is your commercial. Barclay Blair from DLA Piper. Barclay, is it Barclay at DLA.com? Tell us your...
Barclay.Blair at DLAPiper.com. That's right.
Or they can find you on LinkedIn.
Find me on LinkedIn. Not a very common name.
What I have the camera going here, we're going to shoot the commercial and go.
What I'm always looking for is people who are all in on AI. People who get it, who understand it, who see that it's going to change the world, and they want to be a part of that. Those are the people that perform the best in my organization. And they come from, I recently hired somebody who had a high school education, and that took a lot of doing in a firm like DLA Piper because of that character and the demonstrated ability and passion that he had. So that's what I'm looking for. That's the most important thing.
I've said this about you before. There are a couple of people like you. You know how to talent spot, and you know how to talent slot. And if you are looking for an opportunity, I can't recommend the opportunity to work with Barclay Blair and his team and to learn from leadership right now. It is a key to success in anyone's career that is climbing the jungle gym. I know your schedule is crazy here at Legalweek. Thanks for taking the time to share your thoughts.
My privilege.
Thanks.
Bye.
If you enjoyed this show, be sure to give us a like and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or anywhere else you get your shows. And if you want to take your career from now to next, never eat alone.